Okay, a quick tour of the garden so far. You can see onions here. These are, I think, red and some whites. And this open area is where I'm going to put some beans in the next week or so. And then over here we have a little experiment. It's a polyculture of lettuce and radishes. No radishes on this side. Beets and Swiss chard. Alright, on this side, at the base of the peas. And then on this side, lettuce and radishes and spinach, which you can see the spinach there is starting to bolt. If I can zoom in here. There we go. Spinach is starting to bolt. And then we have more peas here. I'm starting to wish I'd done the polyculture on these too, but I wasn't sure if it would work, so I didn't want to waste the seed. I do think, though, what I may find is that the lettuce on this side, okay, which faces south, faces the sun, probably is going to bolt. This side gets a little shade from the peas. And I noticed that this side also doesn't wilt as fast if they get a little dry. Alright, I got some volunteer potatoes. Every year, I put potatoes in this bed before it was a cold frame like 3 years ago. And every year, apparently, I miss some. And they sprout, and I get a few more potatoes. So I'm going to let them go. Over here, we have more onions. 3 basil, some broccoli, and Brussels sprouts. And some volunteer radishes from last season. I let them go just to see what would happen. And they're going to seed. Alright, over in this bed, we've got 3 different potatoes, varieties of potatoes. Early, mid-season, and late. And then at the base of it, another short row of peas. These are shell peas. I've got shell peas and snap peas. And then over here is, these are the tomatoes, which I still have to put together the cage system. You see this grass here. I'm not sure what it is, but it has long traveling roots. I don't know if it's nutsedge or what, but it is the bane of my existence in this garden. I would not have to dig these beds at all if it weren't for this stuff. And you can see it's all over on the path space, which, believe it or not, actually has fabric woven or whatever it is, weed stopper stuff, which obviously does not stop weeds. It's a pain in the butt. On this side, I actually ripped it all up in the spring and put down cardboard instead and shavings. That's got to work at least as good. And you don't end up ripping it up and taking it to the landfill. Alright, more of this awful grass. I've even had to start weed whacking it. Alright. And there's some more invading the asparagus bed. The asparagus needs work. I can see why people put it in its own separate area. I was not aware, I'd never grown it before, that it gets this tall and flops over onto everything. I gotta put up something that's gonna prop it up. But not today. It's gonna be about 90 today. And another polyculture, mostly lettuce and radishes. There's a few parsnips in there, which I think will do okay once I start thinning this. I really got to get after these radishes. They're ready now. And here's some lemon balm, which has some sort of disease or something, bugs. I don't know what it is. It's making speckles on all the leaves. And more of the polyculture. Okay. Over here, we have volunteer strawberries. I believe they got, oh, and there's a nice little dragonfly. Got volunteer strawberries. I think they're sterile. They probably came from strawberry seeds in the compost pile. And they're blossoming, but they don't appear to be forming strawberries, so I'm guessing they were from hybrid seeds. Okay, and then over here is some milkweed. Haven't seen a monarch yet. There haven't been many the last couple years, unfortunately. But here's some milkweed if they want them. It looks like a couple of the plants are actually going to flower, which is nice. They have a nice fragrance. And here's some echinacea, purple coneflower. This had, oh, I'm going to say a couple hundred blossoms on it last year. They're doing really well in this spot. So, here's 2 new raised beds, which is where I'm going to put the melons this year and the squash. I'm going to get them out of the garden, hoping to avoid the squash vine borers. Okay, and you can see there at the base there's some pretty good sized pine trees. I'm hoping, kinda, that they'll actually climb a little. I've put my cucumbers in a very different location, not in the main garden, because I had an awful time with squash bugs last year, hoping maybe they'll have trouble finding them. And they're leaning toward the fence, which is what I'd hoped. Leaning toward the sun, so maybe they'll kind of climb pretty readily. I put in some other seeds right in this area, and they'll be up in a few days. And you can see I still have more stuff to plant. It never ends. That's why there's so few blog posts these days.